All right, here we go. From Heartland Business and Event Center, nestled in vibrant downtown Jesup, Iowa. Welcome to the cradle of the Bohemian Resistance. We are the underground voice of rebellion and wit. Alongside producer Blake Tempus and guest host Dale Reber, Tim Kemmerer is guest hosting today. Dale is on assignment. I stand as the Marquis of Chatham, Jim Gillespie, and this is the news for January 28th, 2026. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. I've been here with my art and my music, but never as a host. So this is pretty cool. A new adventure.
It is. I love adventures. An adventure today. I'll talk about later on. I try to do firsts every day, a different first every day.
Sure.
Have you and I talked about that before?
I don't believe so.
I try to do an adventure every day, be it a different recipe, go someplace different, have maybe a different coffee, meet someone new, like that. It doesn't have to be.
I should try something like that.
Yeah. My biggest adventure last year was I parachuted.
You did tell me about that. Yeah. I don't know if I would do that. But.
And you don't have to do that. But there's a lot of different things you can do. But
I suppose the things you learn. That you never knew before. So neat.
It is. Neat. Another a sponsor who's been with us since the birth of the Steve Brown Arts Center is Derek's Repair, located in Jesup, Iowa. Contact Derek Marty for your car repair needs. Derek is a loyal listener, and I want to shout out to Derek. We need to have him on the show again, and we'll do that soon. So Derek, start repairing. Also check out the podcast What Is Up with our friend from Fairbank, Bubba Seaman. Bubba does a great job, and our podcast usually runs about anywhere from 55 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes. Bubba's usually runs about 90 minutes. So you get a chance, check that out. So Tim, I'm trying to think of all the arts that you're in. You're a guitar player.
I do. I do play guitar, yeah.
You're a culinary artist.
I love to cook.
How did you find that art, Tim? How did you find out? Yeah, cooking.
Well, we came from a fairly large family. There were 6 of us kids, my mom and dad. My mom and dad, a lot of times their jobs kept them working into the evenings a lot. So my mom would write out instructions, what to cook for the dinner and how to cook it. So we would do that. Yeah, I just fell in love with that. I've loved to cook. Of course, I like to eat too. So,
good.
And then I taught both my boys how to cook, and they both love to cook. So, it's a big thing in our house.
Yeah. Well, and you got a pretty famous brother that owns quite the restaurant down in Iowa City. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Maggie's Farm, Firewood Pizza. It's down on Melrose Avenue. I'm going to think they've been there about 8 or 9 years going on. But they just they had a big national contest. Got voted the #1 place in Iowa. So hats off to Maggie.
Yeah, it is, and it's more than wood cooked pizza. It is.
Yeah,
they
have quite a variety on their menu.
Yeah.
It's a very nice place. So.
And then you are a painter. You started. That's how we met you. You were selling your paints, your paintings in the farmers market in Independence.
Yep. I started painting. Well, it's been 3 years now. Just out of I don't know what made me think of it. I was watching some YouTube shows, and there was a lady on there that said she could teach anybody how to paint. And I watched the video and thought, hey, I'll give it a try. I had a lot of comments on my paintings, so I did another and got some more good comments. And it just kind of really snowballed from there. And I was painting full for a while, but it's kind of slowed down now. But sold a lot of paintings. And what I enjoy most about it is hearing the comments from little stories that my paintings reminded him of something. It's always good to hear things like that.
Yeah. So I was reading a book by Austin Kleon. It's an older book. I can't remember the copyright date, but it's called Steal Like an Artist. He was arguing that art hasn't changed in 300 years. I mean, that people just copy other people, and there's nothing wrong with that, he claims. And so I reviewed that book. So as you listen to this and you hear something, don't be afraid to comment to me when I'm done, or even during it. This is Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist. It's basically a pocket-sized wake-up call for anyone trying to make something real in this nosy world. The man's telling you straight out, nobody pops out of the void with original genius. We're all remix machines, scavengers of the cosmic junkyard, stitching together scraps from the artists, hustlers, and dreamers who came before us. That's not cheating. That's lineage. So your mother taught you how to cook.
Yep.
And you cook now. You learn from your mother. You think maybe you're making lasagna the way your mom taught you.
Sure.
But it's your way. Okay, Kleon lays down 10 street-level commandments, and the first one hits like a spray paint gun on a brick wall. Steal like an artist. Surround yourself with stuff that lights your fuse. Study it, copy it, tear it apart, mash it together until it mutates into something that smells like you. One influence makes you a knockoff. A dozen makes you a creator. He pushes you to stop waiting for some mystical identity to descend from heaven. None of us, or very few of us, are going to have something new come into our minds.
It's hard, yeah. It's very hard.
You figure out who you are by making things messy, half-formed, joyful things. Most artists, they claim, their favorite stuff is stuff that doesn't sell, and their worst stuff is stuff that sells.
I can attest to that.
He claims use your hand, glue stuff, cut stuff, scribble, wander into side projects. That's where the sparks hide. And don't hoard your magic. Show your process, your drafts, your glorious mistakes. The internet rewards the brave and the generous. You're not afraid to put your stuff out there, Tim. You're on YouTube with your music.
Yep. Yeah. At first there's a little nervousness there, I guess, but like I say, once you hear some comments from some people and things like that, and people appreciate your work, it gets easier. And you just kind of forget about that, and it makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, communities grow around the ones who open the doors.
Yep.
It is. I asked you to come down to a coffee gathering that I have on Friday.
Yep.
On a Fridays, I don't have it. Another person has it.
Sure.
And I know you enjoy those people.
I do very much.
And they sure enjoy you being there, and you bring your guitar, and they love your music.
Yeah, it's a nice group, and they're enjoying what they're doing, and I'm there enjoying what I'm doing, and it's a good time. It's a good time.
Kleon reminds you that geography is dead. Your tribe might be across the ocean or right next to you in the Amish cornfield. What matters is the work, the discipline, the kindness, and the courage to strip away everything that isn't essential. In the end, the book is a street corner sermon. Activity belongs to everyone. Start now, steal boldly, make loudly, and keep going. I need to show you that book. I promised it to another artist, but
Sure.
I need to show you that book.
Yeah,
It is amazing.
To see that. Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that he said in that is so true. Especially like the paintings, the ones that I think would people are going to fall in love with this one. And then I always carried a box what I called my ugly paintings, and you wouldn't believe the number of people that would go through that ugly box and pretty soon it got where I didn't have enough box anymore. And starting out, at first, not having any art skills of any kind, I had to try to copy other artists, what they were showing. And I still do to some extent, but I always try to add my little twist to it. So it's not quite like theirs, but I learned the techniques, and things like that from that. So, but yeah, I would love to see that.
We are sponsored by Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. The Pharaohs are kind sponsors of the podcast. Include them at your wedding, graduation, or festival plans. Don't wait. Their schedule's filling up for 2026. They're sponsoring a traveling art show for the Steve Brown Arts Center. Thanks to them for including the traveling art show. And thanks to them for their kindness over the years. So we have been giving Mason Fox's top 100 song. We met Mason at M's when we did our podcast from M's.
Great guy.
He is, and musically he knows the words to at least 1,000 songs.
Yeah.
But Mason, I said last week on the show, Mason's 24. He's 25.
25.
And
okay.
I have to correct that for you, Mason. But we are down to 29 to 20.
Awesome.
Let me know if you've heard of any of these songs as I give them to you,
All
Tim.
right. I'm curious to see what he has.
Okay, number 29 by Dire Straits, Money for Nothing.
Money for Nothing. Yes, I have heard that.
right.
Actually, I've been kind of working on learning how to play that.
Oh, you have. All right.
Awesome.
Number 28, the Animals, and there is a house in New Orleans, a house of the rising sun.
Yes. How can you not forget that?
That's been covered a lot.
Yep.
Number 27, Charlie Pride Does My Ring Hurt Your Finger?
I vaguely remember that. It seems I know I've heard of it, but it's probably back in my dad was a big Pride fan, so
my mom was a big Charlie Pride fan. We saw him three years in a row at the Cattle-Con.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
For a kid my age, it wasn't, but
sure.
But
now looking back at it, it was probably a pretty cool thing.
It was cool at that time. Yeah. Number 26, Tom T. Hall, I Like Beer.
I've heard that. Yep. I've heard that.
Number 25, Brooks and Dunn, Hard Working Man.
Not sure if I've heard that.
That sort of rings a bell. It doesn't come to me right away. Number 24, Beach Boys, 409.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of back in my time.
Number 23, this is one of my favorites. This is top 100 for me, Mason. Bob Seger's Night Moves.
Night Moves, Bob Seger. I love Bob Seger. Yeah.
One of my favorite lines in there, woke last night with the sound of thunder. How far off I sat and wondered. Started humming a song from 1962.
Yeah.
Night Moves. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Seger.
Then number 22, Alabama and Tennessee River. Number 21, Alabama, Mountain Music.
Oh, yes. Yep. I remember that.
And then from the late, great Jimmy Buffett, number 20, Margaritaville.
Wasted Away in Margaritaville.
There you go.
Yep.
Awesome.
A
good one. He's
got a good list. He does.
He does. I'm looking forward to the top 10. We will get into 19 to 10 next week. 19 to number 10 next week. Yeah. So this Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. So I was talking to Olivia at the Green Rose Cafe. You're going to play there on February 14th from 10 to 12.
Yep, Valentine's Day.
Yep, Valentine's Day. That is sponsored by the Steve Brown Arts Center, by the Green Rose Cafe, and by the Farmer's Wife Back in Bloom. It used to be the Farmer's Wife. Two young ladies have taken it over. One of them's an artist. The three of us are combined together. Back in Bloom is putting together a bouquet. And then you can get coffee with that bouquet. Nice. And then music is there when they come and pick up their bouquet and their coffee.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And Olivia, she's a great person. I've known her from the farmer's market. And So I'm looking forward to that very much. So,
It
so bring your special one, February 14th from 10 to noon, and enjoy the music and enjoy a good cup of coffee.
I'm going to ask you to listen, and I'll play because of the rights. We can't play it on here right now, but I'm going to ask you to listen to, and maybe you can play it. It's guitar.
Sure.
And I think it's just 3 chords.
Okay.
It's by Reckless Kelly, called "I Never Liked St. Valentine's."
Never like St. Valentine's. Okay.
So I will play it when we're off the air. So those of you watching right now, you get a chance, go to YouTube or go to wherever you get your music and find Reckless Kelly, "I Never Liked St. Valentine's," and play that. With that said, I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Tim Kemmerer and producer Blake Tempus. We will be right back. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're back for the second half of our 3 halves of the show here. With us this half is Joe Olson. Joe is one of the 2 fellows of the Steve Brown Arts Center, him and Dale Reber. And Joe's been very supportive of the Arts Center. And Joe here tonight wants to talk about the 250th birthday of our country. We may do periodically a couple of things with this, and Joe is going to ask for audience involvement tonight, so pay attention and don't be afraid to call me or email me or put under the show's comments what he's looking for. So Joe, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, Joel.
I appreciate the opportunity because I've been collecting kind of bits of information for the last few months, and it's just today, for example, I think it's as I get older, I get more interested in history. We have a perspective on things and hear things. So I was watching a lot of the news feeds coming out of Minneapolis, and some very thoughtful, well-written, it's just kind of tragic how it's unfolding. Anyway, in one of the comments, I don't normally go to comments, but one of the comments said, there was making reference to saying, aren't we going to learn from our mistakes? This is just like the Boston Massacre. And I was like, okay, I'm researching the Revolutionary War. I've heard of the Boston Massacre. I kind of remember, but not very much. I'm going to check that out. My first suggestion is if you're interested in the parallels of kind of social unrest, look up the Boston Massacre. Because kind of by accident, British soldiers shot somebody, and then more shots came out and 5 people died. And that was one of the pivotal moments of, deciding to really take some serious action against the British. So there it was, just today.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you the backstory, a little bit of how I got involved in this, because history has no interest to me when I was in school. Memorize, take tests, move on to the next thing, memorize. I hated it. And I couldn't connect, so I just kind of discounted it. But then in 2022, I got involved in the Lee Mansion renovation project, and it was their 175th anniversary. So I was like, okay, what was going on 175 years ago that in Independence and around in Iowa? And oh man, did I find a lot of stuff that was just intriguing me. So about this time, my wife is getting totally involved in Independence history and her own genealogy and just digging. And so we're talking about it over dinner, and it's like, okay, I wonder what came before this and what came before that. Well, alongside of that, my curiosity about birthdays and 250, and that should have a lot of meaning.
Oh,
it should be a special thing. And because of the climate in our country, I really hadn't heard anything about how we're going to celebrate. Well, what are we celebrating? Well, I thought we were celebrating the end of the war rather than the signing of the Declaration of Independence, so I'm way off base on that.
Sure.
Along with a lot of other things. Anyway, I just started poking around. This happened in November. So I thought, well, I wonder what happened 250 years ago in November, 1775. Oh my gosh. So after kind of gleaning from a bunch of things like the George Washington papers and the American Revolution is what it's called, I started to piece some few things together about November of 1775. So I just want to read this because I just tried to condense. November 1775 was a critical month in the escalating conflict between the colonies and the British British Parliament. On November 1, 1775, the Second Continental Congress learned that King George had rejected, without even reading, the Olive Branch petition, which Congress regarded as the last-ditch effort, the Continental Congress, as a last-ditch effort to avoid declaring war against Britain. Instead, King George declared the colonies in a state of rebellion. The stage was set for the fight for independence. We know anybody else who doesn't read stuff, or in terms of really, he rejected it without reading it. So I dug in, what was the Olive Branch Treaty? Do you know what that was, Jim, in terms of what was in it?
I remember.
I've never heard of it. So.
Right, but it was the colonists saying, we will remain loyal to the king, to the throne, but you got to back off on this taxes and individual rights and all this stuff. But he didn't even read it. Instead, just said, heck with them. We're off and running. So. Next paragraph. Congress shortly thereafter authorized formation of the Continental Marines, which eventually named the United States Marine Corps. In mid-October, Congress had formed the Continental Navy, whose main task was to intercept British supply ships because the war at sea was pivotal. So all this is percolating in 1775. 1776, January 10th. Common Sense was published by Thomas Paine.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never read, but I'm going to read because I learned that in 2006, it was still in the top 10 most popular books of all time. And it sold, what I read was 55,000 copies almost immediately. Now, when he went from anonymous to taking credit for it, but it's supposed to be like the definitive work on democracy and why the authoritarian countries are kind of innately evil. And this was just from the Cliff Notes because I haven't read it, but I think I should.
Yeah,
especially in the context of kind of all that's going on. And
Sure.
if we want to revisit kind of where we've come from in our democracy, I think this look back is very worthwhile. I could go day by day. January was a busy month of 1776 because Washington was rerouting troops to New York because of, I guess that's where the British were going next or something. But they're really gearing up for the war, but that's going to be past the signing. In some ways, the signing just kind of set the stage for the real escalation.
Sure.
Think, didn't it? But I haven't gotten that far yet.
The thing that amazes me is a large amount of the population was pro-British. There was a large number of people that were on the side of
loyalists and the patriots.
Yeah.
So what would our terms now be for the well, we choose left and right, but there are other subterms in there of people who, I got to look up loyalists to see what they were, what their issue was in terms of why this was a bad deal. Maybe loss of life and just not wanting to go to war. I don't know.
The little I remember about it, because I went to world history. I taught American history in my first 10 years, and then the last 20 years I taught world history in my class. But the first 10 years, if I remember the Loyalists right, the Loyalists were not just loyal to Britain, but the reason they were loyal to Britain is because Britain was making them well-to-do.
Rich get richer, maybe.
Yeah. Where
were the Puritans involved in that at that time? Because they were peacekeeping. I mean, they wanted peace at all costs, basically, right?
Yeah, the Puritans came though because they were not respected. They were sort of abused in England and in the British Isles. I don't remember, and they could have had, you could have read something, and I don't remember their involvement in the war.
The other thing, and there's so many tentacles to this, just like in our country, now, pockets of unrest and pockets of squabbles and war in the streets kind of, even though it wasn't really official. And of course, the rules of war were different back then. And the guns were certainly different. But it's just fascinating. And I'm going to keep digging on this and try to connect it specifically to dates and kind of a summary of what went, monthly. I didn't realize this went on until 1783. So I'll be coming here once a month for a
long time. I've got to ask Joe. You mentioned the I wonder how many ships that the colony has had in the Navy, in our Navy.
And did I mention that this was kind of the formation of the Marine Corps?
Yeah, you did.
So they're really getting organized and seem to have, awareness that the intercepting the supplies from Britain, going at it with their ships, is going to be key to victory.
Yeah. Well,
so I got to ask, out of what you've researched so far, what is the biggest surprise, most amazing?
Oh, how little I knew, really, and how little.
Sure.
There's this whole thing about if you don't understand history, it's going to repeat itself. And, I just kind of blocked all that. It's really eye-opening and then I was driving over here, I was thinking about other times in my life where we've had unsettling times, like the assassinations and Vietnam, and the list goes on. It's like, boy, I don't recall where the divide has been so strong as it is now. But maybe it was in Vietnam. I was in shelter at Luther during Vietnam. So.
Yeah, I always think about that. Is it because of my age now that I'm just more aware of what's going on, and that I didn't think about, was it really that bad when I was young?
Of course, one of the challenges we face now is finding out what is going on and what's real and what's. I noticed on the some of the AI things at the bottom, it says now some of this information may be inaccurate. I thought, well, at least
they're being honest about it.
Yeah, of course, there's stuff missing. So
yeah, I guess if you don't actually see it with your own eyes happening, you don't know whether to believe it or not.
Well, Joe, you mentioned to me, and I mentioned earlier, questions from the audience or something from the audience. What would you like the audience to ask?
Well, I don't even know if it's a specific question. It's more like, well, it is a question, I guess. Does this interest any other people out there? And if it can kind of spark some conversation about history related to the 250th. I was looking on the web today, what is going on nationally? And there's actually a site of 250th celebration, a year of service. And so I was kind of looking at that because that's out of I haven't seen anything really on the web or news feeds about the birthday party. So if we can bump that up a notch, that'd be good.
Yeah. Do you remember, you guys remember, 1976 was a huge celebration, the 200, they made coins and the bills they had, they did stuff at...
that was my second summer in Independence, so I don't really remember any of that.
Yeah, it was well celebrated.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I do think that RAGBRAI, it's intentional that RAGBRAI is coming through Independence as part of the 250th.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things in the works to celebrate. That'll be fun.
And so RAGBRAI will be there the 24th of July, correct?
Thursday night.
That'd be the 24th, yeah.
That'll be a busy month.
I think they're opening up the downtown Main Street for the main celebration, and instead of Riverwalk Park. That's it. A lot of planning going on, even because it just announced last week, I think.
How many years ago was RAGBRAI there?
2014, I think, was when it came through here. But, it went through Fairbank last year. Yep. So we were in Buchanan County 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a weird angle coming from Marshalltown to here.
Short but hilly, from what I understand.
Yeah.
You won't be on it, Jim?
I've ridden one day of it, multiple times. I don't want to sleep on a hardware store floor or somebody's floor in a tent anymore. I like my bed too much. I like to shower every day, 2 or 3 times.
My daughter called already because she has some cronies that are looking for a place to stay.
Yeah.
He wasn't a RAGBRAI rider, but he had come from Canada, and he was on his way to Colorado riding on a bicycle, and he was a juggler, and he was going to this big juggling convention for Colorado, and his parents wouldn't pay for him to come here. So the only way he had was his bicycle, and he had all of his equipment with him in his tent, and he had came through our neighborhood, and we weren't home at the time, but he'd come to our house, and our neighbors, they were gone. He went to their house. He ended up staying in the yard across the street from us. He just wanted a place to camp for the night. So that evening, he put a juggling show on for everybody in the neighborhood, and we were all decided, hey, we're going to get up and cook him a big breakfast to send him off in the morning with, and We got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And
He was gone.
He was gone. And never knew his name. And but yeah, it was kind of interesting. But anyway, I kind of got off track.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, Joe, thank you so
betcha.
much for coming.
Yeah,
Hawks
thanks,
are out
Joe.
at 6, so I'll get there about the end of the first quarter.
All right.
Time having me.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
thanks
so
for coming.
much.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Well, this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We had Joe Olson on from Independence talking about our country's 250th anniversary, birthday. Pretty neat.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
always
neat
good to
story.
see Joe. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He
Does a lot for this community.
He does. He's a
awful
great
lot for this
supporter
community, yes.
for us. It is, people like you and Joe, Blake, Dale, Katie Belvins, that we have a number of people that just have been incredible to us. Right now we are showing the Steve Brown Arts Center is showing art in 3 places right now. We are showing Katie Belvin's art in the Jesup Public Library in the community room. If you get a chance,
Yeah, she has come a long way.
She
in
has.
a short time. Yeah, she's done very well. Yeah.
She does. She's not afraid to fail, which I really have a great respect for Katie.
Yep.
Get in. She'll be there till probably about the second week of March. And then we have a surprise. We have a new artist in town, and that we will have up. We try to save the Jesup Public Library for Jesup artists. So if you know of Jesup artists, please let us know for the Jesup Public Library community room.
Nice.
Then, and like always, a leader for us is M's Coffee in Independence. Emily has been so supportive. Right now, we're showing the photography of Kyle Baca, and this Saturday we are changing over to former Jesup resident Robert Bly. I met with Robert last night down in Monticello, picked up his paintings, and we are putting his paintings up this Saturday.
Nice.
So I look forward to that. In the third place, we have a continual showing of Nick Thomas, an artist from Independence, at Gedney's Bakery and Coffee Shop. Gedney's has been awful kind to us as well. We've done 2 shows from there. We've shown artist John Decker, Rex Nielsen. We've shown Pat McIntosh, and we've shown Billy Joe Shell Oldakowski. We've showed Lily Johnson. We've shown Garrett Ficken. We have shown a number of artists in there, and Pete and Chastity and Terry are so kind, and the baristas are so kind.
And they always seem to draw a good crowd. If you get a chance, go on down there, check out the art, and enjoy a cup of coffee there as well. So
we also have artist collaboration there the 4th Monday of every month from 10 to about 11:30.
And that's always interesting because you never know who's going to show up there and what we ask about.
Yeah.
And so it's always nice to get together.
It
there.
is.
I try to make them as often as I can.
It's fun get together. It is. Like you say, last time we had a writer, we had a photographer, we had a painter, we had a sculptor. And we had a stimpler. Rex.
Yes, yeah.
So,
he does great work.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. So those are our main places of show right now. We are working on our show at Jesup Farmers Day, and we're not sure what we're going to do yet. We were talking with Joe, Tim and I were talking with Joe about what direction that is heading. And last year, those listeners remember we had a tiny art show, and we had 50
little figures.
Yeah, 5 entries, I believe.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, and your wife and you and your son all had entries
all
in
3
that.
of us. Yeah.
So
A little windy that day.
It was windy, and that's the only thing. We're looking at a couple of options this year, so that will be out in the next month or so.
Awesome.
This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We'll be right back. Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're back for the third half of the show. show. With me tonight for guest host is Tim Kemmerer. Tim was our first artist in residence. Tim has eclectic skills, and one of those is his cooking skills. And we were talking earlier off air, and I asked him if he could remember a recipe that he'd like to give the audience, and he said he makes the world's best meatloaf. So listen up now. Get your pens and pencils ready. I'll bloviate a little bit here, Tim, so people can get their pen and pencil ready.
All right.
Write this down. It's TK's best meatloaf. All right, Tim, tell us about it.
Okay, well, it is probably my favorite thing to make. So what I do is I start off with like 1.5 pounds of ground beef and 1.5 pounds of ground pork. And I'll mix those two together really good. I'll mix a couple of eggs with it. And then instead of using cracker crumbs or oatmeal or different things, I like to take bread and I soak it in whole milk. And then I take it out and I wring it out really good. And then I tear it up in little bitty pieces. And it keeps the meatloaf really moist. So I'll mix that all together. And then I'll put, salt and pepper. Not any other spices other than that.
Really? No other spices besides salt and pepper? No kidding. So the ingredients are salt and pepper, bread with milk, then pork and
ground beef. And then I make a tomato pepper relish. And so what I do there is I'll cut up a couple of red peppers and I'll cut up tomatoes, dice them up really fine, and I'll add some Worcestershire sauce, like a half a big bottle of ketchup to that, chop up some onions, and mix that all in there and get that cooking, and then I'll set it aside. Usually I'll do that first and set that aside while it's cooling, then I'll put the meat and the eggs and that all together. And then once I've got the relish cooled down, I'll take about half of that and mix it in with the meat and the bread and the eggs and all that. And then I put it on a cookie sheet and just kind of shape it on there. And then I'll cover the top of it with the remaining relish. And then I lay strips of bacon over the top of it and around the side and bake it at 350 and for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your oven. And it is the world's best meatloaf. By far.
As soon as you added Worcestershire, the Worcestershire makes everything better, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic. It's probably not the healthiest meatloaf, but it is very good. It is very good.
So I've got a story about a stew that started a rebellion here in Jesup. It's called the Jesup Burgoo Stew.
Jesup Burgoo Stew.
BURGOO, and is what it was called. Jesup Burgoo Stew. And this story is preserved by the Steve Brown Arts Center Department of Dubious History. Okay, so this is the Jesup Burgoo Stew.
All right.
Long before Jesup had paved streets, reliable Wi-Fi, or Casey's that never runs out of breakfast pizza, the town was ruled by a loose confederation of bohemian stew mystics known as ladlers. They were not ordinary cooks. They were renegades armed with wooden spoons, questionable ethics, and a spiritual belief that any pot big enough could change the fate of town. The story began in 1897 when Jesup faced a crisis. The annual Harvest Festival stew had become so bland that even the Bohemians complained. In response, the ladler stage what historians now call the Great Ingredient Uprising. Sneaking into barns, gardens, and the occasional unattended picnic baskets to gather the most chaotic assortment of meats and vegetables ever assembled in Iowa. They dumped everything into the kettle, so large it required 3 horses, 2 farm boys, and 1 very confused traveling accordionist to move it. This pot was so big. Legend says that the stew simmered for 27 hours, during which a thunderstorm rolled in, but politely avoided the kettle. A traveling salesman claimed the steam cured his rheumatism. A cow wandered too close and became spiritually awakened. The accordionist achieved enlightenment, then left town abruptly. By dawn, the stew had thickened into something between a meal, a prophecy, and a mild misdemeanor. When the town folks tasted it, they reportedly wept openly, hugged strangers, declared temporary truces in long-standing feuds, and vowed to never again trust a stew that didn't require at least 3 meats and a moral compromise. The mayor at the time, who historians agree was either named Earl or definitely Earl, proclaimed it Jesup Burgoo Day, a holiday that has never appeared on any official calendar but is celebrated whenever someone feels like making a giant pot of stew. Today, the Jesup Burgoo remains a symbol of community rebellion, culinary improvisation, and the belief that stew can be both delicious and slightly suspicious. It is said that if you stir the pot counterclockwise at midnight, you can hear the faint whispers of the ladlers arguing about whether lima beans are essential or an abomination. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Don't forget, we have a 24-hour Mustang camera at Joe's Pizza in Independence. Yep. We have a 24-hour Hawk camera at Joe's Pizza in Manchester. Check those out. They are on our brand new website. Check that out, please. It's the Steve Brown Arts Center.org. You can get weekly updates of the Steve Brown Arts Center on Facebook. I'm looking for 12 artists this year, like always. I am on number 8 right now, so I am ahead of. I'm a little ahead right now. Remember, as always, anxiety does not exist if you have gratitude. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. A great thanks to Tim Kemmerer for being with us tonight.
Again, thank you guys for having me, Blake. Thank you.
What a fun night.
It's been fun, yes.
Yes, it is. I'm Jim Gillespie with guest host Tim Kemmerer and producer Blake Tempus. Our thanks, as always, to Kelly C. Haas and the Heartland Business Center and Events Center for hosting us and sponsoring us. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life. And remember, as always, each day is about little victories.